The start of the revolutions against Spain has been officially commemorated in recent years as the Cry of Pugadlawin. The supposed site of Pugadlawin is situated in Barangay Bahay Toro in Quezon City, and it's memorialized with this tableau of life-sized, oddly rigid katipuneros staring their tax certificates known as cedulas. The inscriptions on the marker at the site says that in the vicinity of this place, Andres Bonifacio and about 1,000 katipuneros met on the morning of August 23, 1896 and decided to launch the revolutions against the Spanish government in the Philippines. And then, they affirmed their decision by tearing their cedulas, symbols of the enslavement of Filipinos. This was the first cry of the oppressed people against the Spanish nation and was given force by means of arms. In 1896, according to the National Historical Commission or NHCP, the site had been occupied by the house and yard of the Katipuneros named Juan Ramos, the eldest sons of famous Melchora Aquino, also known as Tandang Sora. The historians agreed that the precise date and locations are not vitally important. They concur that the cry took place between August 23 and 26 on 1896 in what was then the municipality of Caloocan. The doubt about the exact site could put aside as Ambet Ocampo has suggested simply by calling the occasions the cry of Caloocan, but this approach would not end the controversy. The official history demands precise dates to commemorate and exact places to mark, and historians feel uneasy that decades of debate have not produced any clear answers. Pinpointing the cry is a challenge they have failed to meet. When Nicholas Zapra voiced such a view back in 1960, the detail of the cry might seem insignificant in relation to the broader sweep of events. Zapra acknowledged and indeed it might seem pointless and unprofitable to pursue the matter, but the historical profession had a duty to ensure the facts of public history were as accurate as humanly possible.
The story begins in the late 1920s, when a small group of senior Katipunan veterans began to press the case that the term Cry of Balintawak was a misnomer and should be discarded. Balintawak, they argued in a strict, precise sense, a particular barrio to the east of Caloocan, was not where the cry had been occurred. This was true, but nobody had argued otherwise. The name Balintawak had been used to denote a general locality, not an exact spot. More controversially, this group of veterans said the exact spot had been a place they knew as Pugadlawin, a toponym meaning hawk's nest. Most other veterans, however, and even local residents, had never heard of a place by that name. In contemporary records and in contemporary maps, the name Pugadlawin cannot be found anywhere. The scholar Sofronio G. Calderon decided after a fruitless search way back in 1920s, Pugadlawin's foremost proponent was Pio Valenzuela, who had been the supreme fiscal and physician of a Katipunan who had latterly, in the early 1920s, been the provincial governor of Bulacan. He was a prestigious figure but not a good witness to history. In 1911, as noted earlier, he said the decision to revolt had been taken at Apolonio Samson's house in Kangkong in 1917. However, he testified in court that it had been taken at Melchora Aquino's house. on the road known as Daan Malalim in Pasong Tamo, also known as Pugadlawin, and in his memoirs, which Agoncillo says date from the early 1920s, Valenzuela said it had been taken at the place of Melchora Aquino's son, Juan Ramos in Pugadlawin. Some of the discrepancy in Valenzuela's accounts, however, are more apparent than real. His reference to Pugadlawin in 1917 was presumably just a memory lapse from the 1920s till his death. He consistently remembered the site as Pugadlawin, and more importantly, he consistently located the site at Melchora Aquino's place in Pasong Tamo.
In 1928, Valenzuela went to the Pasong Tamo site to commemorate the Cry together with 4 other well-known KKK veterans, Gloria de Jesus, Bonifacio Suido, Bricio Pantas, and the brother Alfonso and Cipriano Pacheco. The newspaper La Opinion carried this photograph of the group, who according to the caption were standing around the exact spot marked with an X, where 1,000 bolos had been stored just before they were used in El Famoso Grade 43 on these occasions. The cry was therefore taken to name the Unang Labanan. Pio Valenzuela, is it true, believed that the Pasha as well as the Unang Labanan should be commemorated at or near this site in Pasong Tamo. But there is no evidence that the other veterans in the photograph took the same view. The association of Pugadlawin with the Unang Labanan in the veterans' minds is made explicit in a joint statement issued by Pio Valenzuela, Bricio Pantas, and Cipriano Pacheco to the effect that the cry had taken place not in Balintawak, where the monument had been erected, but in the place known by the name Pugadlawin. This is the statement as published in the Philippines Free Press in November 1929.
Pio Valenzuela again confirmed that he identified Pugadlawin with Pasong Tamo and specifically with Melchor Aquino's place in August 1940. When together with 2 other Katipunan veterans, Genaro de los Reyes and Sinforonzo San Pedro, he returned there with Eulogio B. Rodriguez and Luis Serrano of the Philippine Historical Committee, a forerunner of the NHCP, to verify the location. Before posing the photographs, the party marked the site of Melchor Aquino's house with a thin wooden stake on which somebody placed their hat. The photograph's caption is not contemporaneous because Caloocan did not attain the status of a city until 1963. The description of the site, Sitio Gulod, Banlat, Caloocan City, reflects how the location was unknown in 1960s rather than in 1940. Fortunately, though, in 1962, Luis Serrano wrote a detailed account of the 1940 expedition, which make it absolutely clear that Valenzuela and his companions believed the cry took place at or near Melchor Aquino's place, a spot they remembered as Pugadlawin, and that their geographical point of reference, their starting point for locating the exact spot, was Pasong Tamo. The trip to Pugadlawin in 1940, Serrano's recall, was recognized by Eulogio B. Rodriguez, the chairman of the Philippine Historical Committee, for the purpose of first, verifying the date of the cry, second, ascertaining the truth of a report that Bonifacio and some members of the Katipunan had buried certain important documents of the Katipunan there, and the third, locating the exact spot where the house of Tandang Stores stood. After picking up the 3 veterans, Serrano says the party negotiated the distance by a car up to Pasong Tamo and hiked about an hour to Pugadlawin. We found that Pugadlawin was
of about 30 to 40 feet higher than a surrounding territory. As the remaining vegetation indicated, it must have been well covered with trees during the revolution. It was a good observation point from a military point of view because it commanded an excellent view of the whole country to the south and west, the only direction from where the Spanish forces could be expected to come. Some of the trees which form landmarks of the place were still recognized by Dr. Valenzuela. Two local men, Serrano relates, aided the party in digging around an ancient tree stump in attempt to find the buried Katipunan records, but their efforts were in vain. Otherwise, though, the expedition had been highly successful because it confirmed: first, the so-called first cry took place at Pugadlawin, and second, it was from the house of Tandang Sora that Katipunan members sallied forth to challenge the might of Spain. Tandang Sora's son, Juan A. Ramos, was a member of the secret organization, hence it was unnatural for the Katipuneros to seek refuge there. Serrano's account shows that Valenzuela still associated Pugadlawin with Melchor Zequena's house in 1940, as he had in 1910s and 1920s. Except that is when he wrote his memoir. In his memoir, as already mentioned, in a single line that has befuddled the entire debate, Valenzuela relates that the decision to revolt was taken at the storehouse and yard of Juan Ramos, son of Melchor Zequenos in Pugadlawin. Did he mean Juan Ramos live at a different Pugadlawin or at the same Pugadlawin as his mother near Pasong Tamo? Luis Serrano, who personally went on the expedition with Valenzuela in 1940 and who later translated his memoir, clearly believed that Valenzuela was referring to the same Pugadlawin. Valenzuela did not expressly repeat in his memoir that Pugadlawin was near Pasong Tamo, but neither did he specify any other location. There was no reason for Serrano, looking back in 1962, to suppose Valenzuela's mental map of the area ever changed, or to think the Pugadlawin of his memoir was any different to the wooded knoll, a likely place for a hawk nest, to which they had hiked together from Pasong Tamo in 1940 rather. Whether it was Melchor Aquino or her son who owned the farmstead near Pasong Tamo where Valenzuela remembered, cedulas being shredded, was just an incidental point of detail, not a basic geography.